Now, if anyone knows where Elrond is, let me know, people. Because I do not see. I'm over looking around. Anduin. And there's Misty Mountains right here. Ever beyond Holland. Yeah, yeah, Ford. Where the top? All my soul. Who is it? See? Mm, it was Arnor, Smartwood, and Redmond. No? Okay. I think they were in. Mm-hmm. I don't see. I don't know. It's got to be on the other map, but okay. Anyway, people. Well, we kind of look at it, and we'll try to find out what we're doing. And what we're going to start at is on page 246. 246 of book 2 of the two towers within the Lord of the Rings, chapter 2, the Council of Elrond. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start where it says, I was in the company. I'm going to start right there and then continue on to see how far I can go on this chapter. This chapter is very long. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, about 26. Well, 26 pages, close to 26 pages we're looking at. Close to 26 pages. So let's just see. Mm-hmm. Well, some of us will wonder where is exactly Elrond, but it's got to be near the people. It's got to be near there. So I'm looking kind of, what is going on here? I'm stupefied. I'm stunned. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and start. Let's see. I was in the company that held the bridge until it was cast down behind us. Four only were saved by swimming, my brother and myself and two others. But still, we fight on, holding all the west shores of Anduin, and those who shelter behind us give us praise. If ever they hear our name, much praise, but little help. Only from Rohan now will any men ride to us when we call. In this evil hour I have come on an errand over many dangerous leagues to Elrond, 110 days. I have journeyed all alone, but I do not seek allies in war. The might of Elrond is in wisdom, not in weapons. It is said, I come to ask for counsel and the unraveling of hard words. For on the eve of the sudden assault of a dream came to my brother, and a troubled sleep. And afterwards a light dream came off to him again, and once to me. But in that dream I thought the eastern sky grew dark, and there was a growing thunder. But in the west a pale light lingered, and out of it I heard a voice, remote but clear, crying, seek for the sword that was broken. In Elmaris it dwells. There shall be counsels taken, stronger than mortal spells. There shall be shown a token that doom is near at hand. For Isildur's bane shall waken, and the halfling force shall stand. Of these words we could understand little, and we spoke to our father, Denethor, Lord of Minas Tirith, wise in the lore of Gondor. This only would he say that Imladris was of old the name among the elves of a far northern dale, where Elrod the half of elven dwelt, greatest of lore masters. Therefore, my brother, seeing how desperate was our need, was eager to heed the dream and seek for L.M. Lagers. But since the way was full of doubt and danger, I took the journey upon myself. Loth was my father to give me leave, and long I have wandered by roads forgotten, seeking the house of Elrond, of which many had heard, but few knew where it lay. And here in the house of Elrond, more shall be made clear to you, said Aragorn, standing up. He cast a sword upon the table that stood before Elrond, and the blade was in two pieces. Here is the sword that was broken, he said. And who are you? And what have you to do with monasteries? Asked Boromir, looking in wonder at the lean face of the ranger and his weather-stained cloak. He is Aragorn, son of Arathorn, said Elrond, and he is descended through many fathers from Elsidor, Eladril's son of Minas Ithil. He is the chief of the Dungeon in the north, and few are now left of that folk. Then it belongs to you, and not to me at all, cried Frodo in amazement, springing to his feet as if he expected the ring to be demanded at once. It does not belong to either of us, said Aragorn, but it has been ordained that you should hold it for a while. Bring out the ring, Frodo, said Gandalf solemnly. The time has come. Hold it up, and then Boromir will understand the remainder of his riddle. There was a hush, and all turned their eyes on Frodo. He was shaken by a sudden shame and fear, and he felt a great reluctance to reveal the ring, and a loathing of its touch. He wished he was far away. The ring gleamed and flickered as he held it up before them in his trembling hand. Behold, Isildur's bane, said Elrond. Boromir's eyes glinted as he gazed at the golden thing. The halfling, he muttered. Is this is then the doom of Minas Tirith come at last? But why then should we seek a broken sword? The words were not the doom of Minas Tirith, said Aragorn, but doom and great deeds are indeed at hand, for the sword that was broken is the sword of Elendil that broke beneath him when he fell. It has been treasured by his heirs when all other heirlooms were lost. For it was spoken of old among us that it should be made again when the ring, Isildur's bane, was found. Now you have seen the sword that you have sought. What would you ask? Do you wish for the house of Elendil to return to the land of Gondor? I was not sent to beg any boon, but to seek only the meaning of a riddle, answered Boromir proudly. Yet we are hard pressed, and the sword of Elendil would be a help beyond our hope. If such a thing could indeed return out of the shadows of the past. He looked again at Aragorn, and doubt was in his eyes. Frodo felt Bilbo stir impatiently at his side. Evidently, he was annoyed on his friend's behalf. Standing suddenly up, he burst out, all that is gold does not glitter. Not all those who wander are lost. The old that is strong does not wither. Deep roots are not reached by the frost. From the ashes a fire shall be woken, a light from the shadows shall spring. Renewed shall be blade that was broken. The crownless again shall be king. Not very good, perhaps, but to the point. If you need more beyond the word of Elrond, if that was worth a journey of 110 days to hear, you had best listen to it. He sat down with a snort. I made that up myself, he whispered to Frodo. For the Dunedain. A long time ago, when he first told me about himself, I almost wished that my adventures were not over, and that I could go with him when his day comes. Aragorn smiled at him. Then he turned to Boromir again. For my part, I forgive your doubt, he said. Little do I resemble the figures of Elendil and Isildur as they stand carven in their majesty in the halls of Denethor. I am but the heir of Isildur, not Isildur himself. I have had a hard life and a long, and the leagues that lie between here and Gondor are the small part in the count of my journeys. I have crossed many mountains and many rivers, and trodden many plains, even into the far countries of Rune and Harad, where the stars are strange. But my home, such as I have, is in the north, for here the heirs of Valadil have ever dwelt in long line, unbroken from father unto son for many generations. Our days have darkened, and we have dwindled, but ever the sword has passed to a new keeper. And this I will say to you, Boromir, ere I end. Lonely men are we, rangers of wild of the wild hunters, but hunters ever of the servants of the enemy. For they are found in many places, not in Mordor only. If Gondor Boromir has been a stalwart tower, we have played another part. Many evil things there are that your strong walls and bright swords do not stay. You know little of the lands beyond your bounds. Peace and freedom, do you say? The North would have known little, them little, but for us, fear would have destroyed them. But when dark things come from the houseless hills, or creep from sunless woods, they fly from us. What roads would any dare to tread? What safety would there be in quiet lands, or in the homes of simple men at night, if the Dunedain were asleep or were all gone into the grave? And yet less thanks have we than you. Travelers scowl at us, and countrymen give us scornful names. Strider, I am to one fat man who lives within a day's march of foes that would freeze his heart, or lay his little town in ruin. If he were not guarded ceaselessly, yet we would not have it otherwise. If simple folk are free from care and fear, simple they will be, and we must be secret to keep them so. That has been the task of my kindred. While the years have lengthened and grass has grown, but now the world is changing once again. A new hour comes. Elsodur's bane is found. Battle is at hand. The sword shall be reforged. I will come to Minas Tirith. Elsodur's bane is found, you say, said Boromir. I have seen a bright ring in the halfling's hand, but Elsodur perished ere this age of the world began, they say. How do the wise know that the ring is his? And now has it passed down the years until it is brought hither by strange a messenger. That shall be cold, said Elrond. But not yet, I beg, master, cried Bilbo. Already the sun is climbing to noon, and I feel the need of something to strengthen me. I had not named you, said Elrond, smiling, but I do so now. Come, tell us your tale, and if you have not yet cast your story into verse, you may tell it in plain words. The briefer, the sooner shall you be refreshed. Very well, said Bilbo. I will do as you bid, but I will now tell the true story. And if some here have heard me tell it otherwise, he looked sidelong at Glowin. I ask him to forget it and forgive me. I only wish to claim the treasure as my very own in those days, and to be rid of the name of thief that is put on me. But but perhaps I understand things a little better now. Anyway, this is what happened. To some there, Bilbo's tale was wholly new, and they listened with amazement while the old habit, actually not at all displeased, recounted his adventure with Gollum at full length. He did not omit a single riddle. He would have given also an account of his party and disappearance from the Shire if he had been allowed, but Elrond raised his hand. Okay, so we know that Elrond's the man. He's not a place, so we don't need to look for him anymore. Okay, so let's clear it up. So, well, told my friend, he said, but that is enough at this time. For the moment, it suffices to know that the ring passed to Frodo, your heir. Let him now speak. Then, less willingly than Bilbo, Frodo told of all his dealings with the ring from the day that it passed into his keeping. Every step of his journey from Hobbiton to the ford of Rhudain was questioned and considered, and everything that he could recall concerning the Black Riders was examined. At last he sat down again. Not bad, Bilbo said to him. You will, you would have made a good story of it if they hadn't kept on interrupting. I tried to make a few notes, but we shall have to go over it all again together sometime if if I am to write it up. There are whole chapters of stuff before you ever got here. Yes, it made quite a long tale, answered Frodo, but the story still does not seem complete to me. I still want to know a great deal, especially about Gandalf. Gondor of the Havens, who sat nearby, overheard him. You speak for me also, he cried. And turning to Elrond, he said, the wise may have good reason to believe that the halfling's trove is indeed the great ring of long debate. Unlikely, that may seem to those who know less. But may we not hear the proofs? And I would ask this also. What of Saruman? He is learned in the lore of the rings, yet he is not among us. What is his counsel, if he knows the things that we have heard? The questions that you ask, Galdor, are bound together, said Elrond. I had not overlooked them, and they shall be answered, but these things it is the part of Gandalf to make clear. And I call upon him last, for it is the place of honor. In all this matter, he has been the chief. Some, Galdor, said Gandalf, would think the tidings of gold and the pursuit of Frodo proof enough that the halfling's trove is a great is a thing of great worth to the enemy. Yet it is a ring. What then? The nine of Nazgul keep. The seven are taken or destroyed. At this Glowin stirred, but did not speak. The three we know of. What then is this one that he desires so much? There is indeed a wide waste of time between the river and the mountain, between the loss and the finding. But the gap in the knowledge of the wise has been filled at last, yet too slowly, for the enemy has been close behind, closer even than I feared. And well, is it that not until this year, this very summer, as it seems, did he learn the full truth. Some here will remember that many years ago I myself dared to pass the doors of Necromancer in Dolguldur and secretly swore his ways, and found thus that our fears were true. He was none other than Sauron, our enemy of old, at length taking shape and power again. Some, too, will remember that Sauron dissuaded us from open deeds against him, and for long we watched him only. Yet at last, as his shadow grew, Saruman yielded, and the council put forth its strength and drove the evil out of Mirkwood, and that was in the very year of the finding of this ring. A strange chance it was. But we were too late, so Elros foresaw. Sauron also watched us and had long prepared against a stroke, governing Mordor from afar to Minas Morgul, where his 9 servants dwelt, until all was ready, and then he gave way before us, but only feigned to flee. And soon after came to the dark tower and openly declared himself. Then for the last time the council met. For now we learned that he was seeking ever more eagerly for the one. We feared then that he had some news of it, that we knew nothing of it. But Saruman said nay, and repeated what he had said to us before, that the one would never again be found in Middle Earth. At the worst, said he, our enemy knows that we have it not, and that it is still lost. But what was lost may yet be found, he thinks. Fear not, his hope will cheat him. Have I not earnestly studied this matter? Into Anduin the Great it fell, and long ago, while Sauron slept, it was rolled down the river to the sea. There let it lie until the end. Gandalf fell silent, gazing eastward from the porch to the far peaks of the misty mountains. At those great roots of the peril of the world had so long lain hidden, he sighed. There I was at fault, he said. I was lulled by the words of Saruman the wise, but I should have sought for the truth sooner, and our peril would now be less. We were all at fault, said Elrond. Before your vigilance, the darkness, maybe, would already be upon us. But say on. From the first, my heart misgave me against all reasons that I knew, said Gandalf, and I desired to know how this thing came to Gollum and how long he had possessed it. So I set a watch for him, guessing that he was ere long come forth from his darkness to seek for his treasure. He came, but he escaped and was not found. And then, alas, I let the matter rest, watching and waiting only, as we have too often done. Time passed with many cares until my doubts were awakened again to sudden fear. Whence came the hobbit's ring? What, if if my fear was true, should be done with it? Those things I must decide. But I spoke yet of my dread to none, knowing the peril of an untimely whisper if it went astray, and all the long wars with the dark tower treason has ever been our greatest foe. That was 17 years ago. Soon I became aware that spies of many sorts, even beasts and birds, were gathered around the Shire. and my fear grew. And I called for the help of the Dunedain, and their watch was doubled. And I opened my heart to Aragorn, the heir of Isildur. And I, said Aragorn, counseled that we should hunt for Gollum. Too late, though it may seem. And since it seemed fit that Isildur's heir should labor to repair Isildur's fault, I went with Gandalf on the long and hopeless search. Then Gandalf told how they had explored the whole length of Wilderland, down to even down even to the mountains of Shadow and the fences of Mordor. There we had rumor of him, and we guessed that he dwelt there long in the dark hills. But we never found him, and at last I despaired. And then in my despair, I thought again of a test that might make the finding of Gollum unneeded. The ring itself might tell if it were the one. The memory of words at the council came back to me. Words of Saruman, half breathed at the time. I heard them now, clearly in my heart. The 9, the 7, and the 3, he said, had their proper gem. Not so the one. It was round and unadorned, as it were one of the lesser rings, but its maker set marks upon it that the skilled, maybe, could be could see, still see and read. What those marks were, he had not said. Who now would know? The maker and Saruman. But great though his lore may be, it must have a source. What hand has Sauron's ever held this thing? Ere it was lost, the hand of Isildur alone. With that thought, I forsook the chase and passed swiftly to Gondor. In former days, the members of our order have been well received there, but Saruman most of all. Often he had been for long the guest of the lords of the city. Less welcome did the Lord Denethor show me then than of old, and grudgingly he permitted me to search among his hoarded scrolls and books. If indeed you look only, as you say, for records of ancient days and the beginnings of the city, read on, he said, for to me what was is less dark than what it is to come, and that is my care. But unless you have more skill than even than Saruman, who has studied here long, you will find not that is not well known to me, who am master of the lore of the city. So said Denethor, and yet there lie in his hoards many records that few, even the lore masters now can't read. For their scripts and tongues have become dark to later men. And Boromir, there lies in the Lannisteries, still unread, I guess, by any save Saruman and myself, since the kings failed, a scroll that Isildur made himself, for Isildur did not march away straight from the war in Mordor. as some have told the tale. Some in the north maybe. Boromir broke in. All no in Gondor. Mm, right here. Gondor is right here. That he went first to Linus Honor and dwelt a while with his nephew Menedil, instructing him before he committed to him in the rule of the South Kingdom. This is South Gondor. In that time, he planted there the last sapling of the white tree in memory of his brother. Mm, And but in that time, he also made the scroll, said Gandalf, and that is not remembered in Gondor. It would seem for the scroll concerns the ring, and thus wrote Elzadar therein. Excuse me. The great ring shall go now to be an heirloom of the North Kingdom, but records of it shall be left in Gondor, where also dwell the heirs of Elendil, lest a time come when the memory of these great matters shall grow dim. And after these words, Elzadar described the ring, such as he found it. It was hot when I first took it, hot as a flint, and my hand was scorched, so that I doubt if I ever again shall be free of the pain of it. Yet even as I write, it is pulled, and it seemeth to shrink, though it loses neither its beauty nor its shape. Already the writing upon it, which at first was as clear as red flame, fadeth and is now only barely to be read. It is fashioned in a elven script of Ergion, for they have no letters in Mordor for such subtle work. But the language is unknown to me. I deem it to be a tongue of the black land, since it is foul and uncouth. What evil it saith, I do not know, but I trace here a copy of it, lest it fade beyond recall. The ring misses, maybe, the heat of Sauron's hand, which was black and yet burned like fire, and so Galad was destroyed. And maybe were the gold made hot again, the writing would be refreshed. But for my part, I will risk no hurt to this thing. Of all the works of Sauron, the only fair, it is precious to me, though I buy it with great pain. When I read these words, my quest was ended, for the traced writing was indeed as Elzadar guessed, and the tongue of Mordor and the servants of the tower. And what was said therein was already known, for the day that Sauron first put on the one, Celebrimbor, maker of the three, was aware of him, and from afar he heard him speak these words, and so his evil purposes were revealed. At once I took my leave of Denethor, but even as I went northwards, messages came to me out of Lorien that Aragorn had passed that way, and that he had found a creature called Gollum. Therefore, I went first to meet him and hear his tale, and to what deadly perils he had gone alone I dared not guess. There is little need to tell of them, said Aragorn. If a man must needs walk inside of the black gate, or tread the deadly flowers of Morgul Vale, then perils he would have. I, too, despaired at last. I began my homeward journey, and then, by fortune, I came suddenly on what I saw: the marks of soft feet beside a muddy pool. But now the trail was fresh and swift, and it led not to Mordor but away. Along the skirts of the dead marshes I followed it. I thought I seen it around here somewhere. Those troll shows. I don't know what the dead marshes. Oh, okay. I'll go back over it and ask you. Uh, and then I had him lurking by a stagnant mere, peering into the water as the dark eve fell. I caught him, Gollum. He was covered in green slime. He will never love me, I fear, for he bit me, and I was not gentle. Nothing more than I ever get from his mouth than the marks of his teeth. I deemed it the worst part of all my journey, the road back, watching him day and night, making him walk before me with a halter on his neck, gagged until he was tamed by a lack of drink and water, driving him ever towards Mirkwood. Hmm. Here's the mountains of Mirkwood right here. I brought him there at last and gave him to the elves, for he had agreed that this should be done, and I was glad to be rid of his company, for he stank. For my part, shit, sorry people. Oh my god, I got, I got fear of a. Those a bee. I want to call it a bee, a wasp. And I hate them. Sorry. For my part, I hope never to look upon him again. But Gandalf and endured long speech with him. Yes, long and weary, said Gandalf, but not without profit. For one thing, the tale he told of his loss agreed with that which Bilbo has now told openly for the first time, but that mattered little, since I had already guessed it. But I learned then first that Gollum's ring came out of the great river, nigh to the Gladden fields. Great river. There you go, great river. Dead Marshes is here. Dead marshes is here, right here, and that's the Great River. Gladden Fields, Gladden Fields. Gladden Fields is here. Gladden Fields is here. And I learned also that he has possessed it long. Many lives of his small kind. The power of the ring had lengthened his years far beyond their span. But that only, but that power only the great rings wield. And if that is not proof enough, Galdor, there is the other test that I spoke of. Upon this very ring which you have here seen aloft, round and unadorned, the letters that LOTR reported may still be read, and if one has the strength of will to set the golden thing in the fire a while, that I have done, and this I have read. Ash Naxal Saknu, Ash Nak Gimbatu, Ash Nak Katunu, Na Bosum Ishi Gimbatu. The change in the wizard's voice was astounding. Suddenly, it became menacing, powerful, harsh as stone. A shadow seemed to pass over the sun, and the porch for a moment grew dark. All trembled, and the elves stopped their ears. Never before has any voice dared to utter words that of that tongue in Imladris. Gandalf the Grey, said Elrod. Okay. As the shadow passed and the company breathed once more. And let us hope that none will speaking here again, answered Gandalf. Nonetheless, I do not ask your pardon, Master Elrond, for if that tongue is not soon to be heard in every corner of the West, then let all put doubt aside, and that thing is indeed what the wise have declared, the treasure of the enemy, fraught with all his malice, and in it lies a great part of his strength of old. Of the black years came the words that Smiths of Arion heard and knew that they had been betrayed. One ring to rule them all, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them. Know also, my friends, that I learned more yet from Gollum. He was lost to speak, and his tale was unclear. But it is beyond all doubt that he went to Mordor, and there all that he knew was forced from him. Thus the enemy knows that the one is found. That it was long in the Shire, and since the servants had pursued it almost to our door, he soon will know. Already he may know, even as I speak, that we have it here. Okay, we're going to go ahead and stop for a minute. We're going to take a break. I'm going to go ahead and take a bathroom break and drink some water. And we're almost done, people. We're just going to go ahead and take a little short respite and go ahead and go to the restroom. And some drink and snacky or whatever. Okay. Yeah, I'll put this as a tree. And that's the Great River, Glen Fields. Mm. The dead marshes are here. Mm. Okay. Well, let's see what I gotta do now. My screen. Okay. Okay, so let's see. On page 255, second paragraph. All sat silent for a while. I'm going to start there. Until a length of Boromir spoke. He is a small thing, you say, said this Gollum. Small but great in mischief. What became of him? To what doom did you put him? He is in prison. But no worse, said Aragorn. He had suffered much. There is no doubt that he was tormented, and the fear of Sauron lies black on his heart. Still, I, for one, am glad that he is safely kept by the watchful elves of Mirkwood. Okay. His malice is great and gives him a strength hardly to be believed in one so lean and withered. He he could work much mischief still if he were free. And I do not doubt that he was allowed to lead Mordor on some evil errand. Alas, alas, cried Legolas, and in his fair elfish face there was great distress. The tidings that I was sent to bring must now be told. They are not good, but only here have I learned how evil they may seem to this company. Smeagol, who is now called Gollum, has escaped. Escaped? Cried Aragorn. That is ill news indeed. We shall all rue it bitterly, I fear. How came the folk of Dunduil to fail in their trust? Not through lack of watchfulness, said Legolas, but perhaps through overkindliness. And we fear that the prisoner had aid from others, and that more is known of our doings than we could wish. We guarded this creature day and night at Gandalf's bidding, much though we wearied of the task. But Gandalf bade us hope still for his cure. And we had not the heart to keep him ever in dungeons under the earth, where he would fall back into his old black thoughts. You were less tender to me, said Glowin with a flash of his eyes, as old memories were stirred of his imprisonment in the deep places of the elven king's halls. Now come, said Gandalf. Pray do not interrupt my good Glowin. That was a regrettable misunderstanding. Long said right. If all the grievances that stand between elves and dwarfs are to be brought up here, we may as well abandon this council. Lowen rose and bowed, and Legolas continued. On in the days of fair weather, we led Gollum through the woods, and there was a high tree standing alone far from the others which like to climb. Often we let mount up to the highest branches until he felt the free wind. But we set a guard at the tree's foot. One day he refused to come down, and the guards had no mind to climb after him. He had learned the trick of clinging to boughs with his feet as well as with his hands. So he sat by the tree far into the night. It was that very night of summer, yet moonless and starless, that one orcs came on us at unawares. We drove them off after some time. They were many and fierce, but they came from over the mountains and were unused to the woods. And when the battle was over, we found that Gollum was gone, and his guards were slain or taken. It was then seen plain to us that the attack had been made for his rescue, and that he knew of it beforehand. Now, how that was contrived, we cannot guess. But Gollum is cunning, and the spies of the enemy are many, many. The dark things that were driven out in the year of the dragon's fall have returned in greater numbers, and the murk wood is again an evil place. Save our realm is Save where our realm is maintained. We have failed to recapture Gollum. We came on this trail among those of many orcs, and it plunged deep into the forest, going south. But ere long it escaped our skill, and we dare not continue the hunt. For we were drawing nigh to Dol Guldur, and that is still a very evil place. Dol Guldur. Mm, mm. Oh, right here, right here, right there, right there, right there. And we do not go that way. Well, well, he is gone, said Gandalf. We have no time to seek for him again, for he must do what he will. But he may play a part yet that neither he nor Sauron have foreseen. And now I will answer Galdor's other questions. What of Saruman, and what are his counsels to us in this need? This tale I must tell in full, for only Elrond has heard it yet, and that in brief, but it will bear on all that we must resolve. It is the last chapter of the tale in the tale of the ring, so far as it had yet gone. At the end of June, I was in the Shire, but a cloud of anxiety was on my mind, and I rode to the southern borders of the little land where I had a foreboding of some danger. still hidden from me, but drawing near. Their messages reached me telling me of war and defeat in Gondor. And when I heard of the black shadow, a chill smote my heart. But I found nothing save a few fugitives from the south. Yet it seemed to me that on them sat a fear of which they would not speak. I turned then east and north and journeyed along the greenway, and not far from Bray, I came upon a traveler sitting on a bank beside the road, with his grazing horse beside him. It was Roundagos the Brown, who at one time dwelt at Rosgobel, near the borders of Mirkwood. Hmm. He is one of my order, but I had not seen him for a many a year. Gandalf, he cried, I was seeking you, but I am a stranger in these parts. All I knew was that you might be found in a wild region with the uncouth name of Shire. Your information was correct, I said, but do not put it that way. If you meet any of the inhabitants, you are near the borders of Shire now. And what do you want with me? It must be pressing. You were never a traveler unless driven by great need. I have an urgent errand, he said. My news is evil. Then he looked about him as if the hedges might have ears. Nazgul, he whispered. The nine are abroad again. They have crossed the river secretly and are moving westward. They have taken the guise of riders in black. I knew then what I had dreaded without knowing it. The enemy must have some great need or purpose, said Randagas. But what it is that makes him look to these distant and desolate parts, I cannot guess. What do you mean? Said I. I have been told that wherever they go, the riders ask for news of a land called Shire. The Shire? I said, but my heart sank. For even the wise might fear to withstand the nine, but they are gathered together under the fell chieftain, a great king and sorcerer he was of old, and now he wields a deadly fear. Who told you and who sent you? I asked. Suramon the White, answered Rendagas. Mm. Answered Rendagas, and he told me to say that if you feel the need, he will help. But you must seek his aid at once, or it will be too late. And that message brought me hope. For Saruman the White is the greatest of my order. Rondagast is, of course, a worthy wizard, a master of shapes and changes of hue, and he has much lore of herbs and beasts and birds, are especially his friends. But Saruman has long studied the arts of the enemy himself, and thus we have been often been able to forestall him It was the devices of Saruman that we drove him from Dog Holdor. It might be that he had found some weapons that would drive back the nine. I would go to Saruman, I said. Then you must go now, said Randagost, for I have wasted time in looking for you, and the days are running short. I was told to find you before midsummer, and that is now here. Even if you set out from the spot, you will hardly reach him before the night. Discover the land that they see. I myself shall turn back at once, and that and with that he mounted and would have ridden straight off. Stay a moment, I said. We shall need your help and the help of all things that will give it. Send out messages to all the beasts and birds that are your friends. Tell them to bring news of anything that bears on this matter to Saruman and Gandalf. Let messages be sent to Orthoth. I will do that, he said, and he rode off as if the nine were after him. Oh my God, oh my God. So we had what? There's no good door right here. So yeah, sir, they're a long way from the shrine, I'm gonna tell you. Like right here. Yes, going that way. Shire is over here. Hobbiton is right here. 'There's still Rivendell. And then created the Council of Elrond. So, let's see. Right now, I'm on page 258. They need to get water and whatever. Do it now. Let's see, how long is it? Oh, it's 1 minute and 21 seconds. 1 hour and 21 minutes. I'm sorry, I'm enjoying this day, but yeah. I know so much to be quiet at home, but okay. So it looks like they're mainly using the Aldwine, uh, the Great River. Right here. I mean, if you're following it, I mean, like I am, let's see. Here we go again. 258. I could not follow him then and there. I had ridden very far already that day, and I was as weary as my horse, and I needed to consider matters. I stayed the night in Bray and decided that I had no time to return to the Shire. Neither did I make a greater mistake. However, I wrote a message to Frodo and trusted to my friend, the innkeeper, to send it to him. I rode away at dawn, and I came at long last to the dwelling of Saruman, and that is far south in Isengard, in the end of the Misty Mountains. Mm, yes. Mm, here we go. Isengard. Isengard's here. Okay. I'm worried about it. Mm, right there. There you go. And the end of the Misty Mountains, not far from the Gap of Rohan. And Boromir will tell you that that is a great open vale that lies between the Misty Mountains and the northmost foothills of arid Namoss. Wow. Right here. The white, okay, wait a minute. Yeah, the white mountains of his home. But Isengard is a circle of sheer rocks that enclose a valley as with a wall. And in the midst of that valley is a tower of stone called Orthoth. It was not made by Saruman, but the men of Numenor long ago. And it is very tall and has many secrets. Yet it looks not to be a work of craft. It cannot be reached save by passing the circle of Isengard. And, and in the circle, there is only one gate. Hmm. Late one evening, I came to the gate, like a great arch in the wall of rock. It is strongly guarded, but the keepers of the gate were on the watch for me and told me that Saruman awaited me. I rode under the arch and the gate closed silently behind me, and suddenly I was afraid, though I knew no reason for it. But I rode to the foot of forethought and came to the stair of Saruman. Wow. And there he met me and led me up to his high chamber. He wore a ring on his finger. So you come, Gandalf, he said to me gravely, but in his eyes there seemed to be a white light, as if a cold laughter was in his heart. Yes, I come, I said. I have come for your aid, Saruman the White, and that title seemed to anger him. Have you indeed, Gandalf the Grey? He scoffed. For aid? It has seldom been heard that Gandalf the Grey sought for aid, one so cunning and so wise, wandering about the lands and concerning himself in every business, whether it belongs to him or not. I looked at him and wondered, but if I am not deceived, said I, things are now moving which will require the union of all our strength. That may be so, he said, but the thought is late in coming to you. How long, I wonder, have you concealed from me the head of the council in matter of greatest import? What brings you now from your lurking place in the Shire? The nine have come forth again, I answered. They have crossed the river. So Rondagas said to me, Rondagas the Brown? Laughed Saruman, and he is no longer concealed his scorn. Rondagas the bird tamer, Rondagas the symbol, Rondagas the fool. Yet he had just the wit to play the part that I set him. For you have come, and that was all the purpose of my message. And here you will stay, Gandalf the Grey, and rest from journeys. For I am Saruman the Wise, Saruman the Ringmaker, Saruman of many colors. I looked then and saw that his robes, which had seemed white, were not so, but were woven of all colors, and if he moved, they shimmered and changed hue, so that the eye was bewildered. I like white better, I said. White? He sneered. It serves as a beginning. White cloth may be dyed. The white page can be overwritten, and the white light can be broken, in which case it is no longer white, said I. And he that breaks a thing to find out what it is has left the path of wisdom. You need not speak to me as to one of the fools that you take for friends, said he. I have not brought you hither to be instructed by you, but to give you a choice. He drew himself up then and began to declaim, as if he were making a speech long rehearsed. The elder days are gone. The middle days are passing. The younger days are beginning. The time of the elves is over. But our time is at hand. The world of men, which we must rule. But we must have power. Power to order all things as we will. For that good which only the wise can see. And listen, Gandalf, my friend and helper, he said, coming near and speaking now in a softer voice. I said we, for we it may be. If you will join with me, a new ring power is rising. Against it, the old allies and policies will not avail us at all. There is no hope left in elves or dying Numenor. This is, then is one choice before you, before us. We may join with that power. It would be wise, Gandalf. There is hope that way. Its victory is at hand, and there will be rich reward for those that aided it. As the power grows, it proved friends will not also grow, and the wise, such as you and I, may in practice come at last to direct its courses to control it. We can bide our time. We can keep our thoughts in our hearts. Deploring may be evils done by the way, but approving the high and ultimate purpose. Knowledge, rule, order, all the things that we have far striven in vain to accomplish. Hindered rather than helped by our weak, our idle friends. There not be, there not, there would not be any real change in our designs, but only in our means. Solomon, I said, I have heard speeches of this kind before, but only in the mouths of emissaries sent from Mordor to deceive the ignorant. I cannot think that you brought me so far only to weary my ears. He looked at me sidelong and paused a while considering. Well, I see that this wise course does not commend itself to you, he said. Excuse me. Not yet. Not if some better way can be contrived. He came and laid his long hand on my arm. And why not, Gandalf? He whispered. Why not? The ruling ring. If we could command that, then the power will pass to us. That is in truth why I brought you here. For I have many eyes in my service, and I believe that you know where this precious thing now lies. Is it not so? Or why do you do the nine as for the Shire? And what is your business then? As he said, this was a lust in which he could not conceal shone suddenly in his eyes. Saruman, I said, standing away from him, only one hand at a time can wield the one. If you know that well, so do not trouble to say we, but I would not give it, nay, I will not give even news of it to you. Not now that I learned your mind. You were head of council, but you have unmasked yourself at last. Well, the choices are, it seems, to submit to Sauron or to yourself. I will take neither. Have you others to offer? He was cold now, imperious. Yes, he said, I did not expect you to show wisdom, even in your own behalf. But I gave you the chance of aiding me willingly. And so saving yourself much trouble and pain. The third choice is to stay here until the end. Until what end? Until you reveal to me where the one may be found. I may find means to persuade you, or until it is found in your despite, and the ruler has come to turn to lighter matters, to devise, say, a fitting reward for the hindrance and insolence of Gandalf the Grey. That may not prove to be one of the lighter matters, said I. He laughed at me, for my words were empty, and I knew it. So, okay, we're going to go ahead and stop right here. And on page 260, and I'm going to give a break a little bit I'm going to get back on here later and rest myself before I wreck myself. And then I'm going to go ahead and let's see, 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, 11 pages. 10, 10 to 11 pages left of this chapter. Uh, for the Council of Elrond, Chapter 2, from the Two Towers, um, the second book within the trilogy of The Lord of the Rings. So I'm going to go ahead and say later, safe travels, my fellow hobbits, orcs, and elves, and dwarves, wherever you may be, and wherever your travels are going to lead you. Okay, later.